This is not going well. Historical fantasy is hard, y'all. Research takes a lot of time. I spent pretty much the whole day so far on chapter 1, which, like, why? Hey y'all, howdy, welcome to One for the Books. I'm Sandra Broadwell. Today we're kicking off a writing retreat kind of reset vlog because I've been struggling to keep up with my writing this year, and it's already Q2. I've accomplished very little, and this month is April. It is Camp NaNoWriMo, which is basically like the mini National Novel Writing Month, where instead of being required to write 50,000 words, you set your own goal. It doesn't matter if you're like writing or editing or whatever. And at the beginning of the month, I said that I wanted to make it an official NaNoWriMo and write 50,000 words this month. And then I did what I was afraid that I would do, and I wrote a little bit here and there, but I mostly put off all of the writing until the very end of the month. Today is April 17th, I think. I'll have to check and add in the date later, I guess. I just dropped off my husband at the airport, and he is going to be on a business trip for the next 10 days. And so I basically wanted to treat his business trip like a writing retreat for myself, because I will have very little distractions and I don't have a ton of plans over this time. And so I basically want to see if I can write 50,000 words in 10 days. So I need to be writing about 5,000 words a day. I've never written that much in a day before, so this is super ambitious, but I did it to myself because 50,000 words was my goal for the entire month, and I hardly wrote it all this month. I have written some, like I said. I think I've maybe written like 5,000 or 8,000 words so far. I wasn't planning on filming yet, so I don't have all my like numbers and figures together, but I'm just on my way to my campsite for the upcoming week, and I'm on this beautiful mountain pass, and so I was just like, oh, what a great pull off. I'll just pull over and start the vlog already. So here we are. Apologies if there was an angle change just now. I had to stop filming for a minute because Prius pulled up and started taking pictures and I'm too embarrassed to film in front of other people. Anywho, if you haven't seen any of my previous videos, I'm currently working on an adult fantasy novel. It is my first ever attempt to complete a full novel. And if you saw my last video, you know, I kind of got to the midpoint of the novel. And then at that point, I'm a discovery writer, and I discovered I had a bunch of better ideas about how the story could go to make it more compelling and to make the ending that I had planned work a lot better. And so I am basically doing a really heavy developmental edit. I'm trying not to think of it as a rewrite because it is very daunting, but I am basically rewriting a lot of the first half of the book so that I can move on and continue with the last half of the book the way that I am envisioning it now, knowing the characters and the plot a lot better. So that's the plan. I think it's around 1:30 right now. I still have a little over an hour to get to my campsite, and it is a Friday afternoon, so I need to wrap this up and hurry up and get there. Hopefully I can get a good one. That's the start of the vlog. Welcome to my writing retreat. Thanks for being here on the ride with me. Wish me luck. We'll see how it goes.
Every change has a reason, baby, let it come to you. Every soul, every season lives outside of status quo. If we stop believing we're meant to be, expanding our abilities. If the passion's gone.
So I am at my campsite. I got the very best campsite that I was hoping for. I'm also just a few short steps away from a hot spring. You can see the cars over right there. Yeah, that's the parking area where people come to go soak in the hot spring. So I'm literally like maybe a 7-minute walk from a really amazing hot spring. After I got here and I got my camp set up and I like cleaned up a little bit of mess in the van, then I talked to my parents on the phone for like an hour and a half, which was great. I love talking to my parents, but also then I like cooked dinner and ate dinner, and now I'm just really tired because I had to drive, like this morning after, gosh, I woke up at like 4:30 to drop off my husband at the airport because his flight was at 6:30. And then I like had to get groceries and stuff like that to like get ready to come out into the wilderness for the week. So from where I dropped him off at the airport to here was supposed to be like a 4-hour drive, and then there was a lot of roadblocks and not hazards, but like construction stuff. Like there were a couple of rock slides and stuff, which I guess is kind of standard mountain pass maintenance. But anywho, it took almost 5 hours to get here. So I've just had a really long day, long story short, and the hot spring is right there, and I really just want to go soak. I'm gonna power through. I'm gonna write. That's the plan. We'll see if I get to the hot spring tonight or not, and we'll see how much writing I get done. Not sure how well you can hear me because the creek is pretty loud, so I'll talk loudly and hopefully this won't be an obnoxious clip. But I came down to the hot spring this morning. Unfortunately, I did not do any writing yesterday. I was just so tired. I felt guilty about it though, and I just kind of guilt tripped myself all evening instead of relaxing. I did go to bed early though. And today's a new day. I decided to go ahead and come down to the hot spring and enjoy my coffee. So I've got my coffee and my Kindle. I'm gonna just sit here and enjoy having the hot spring to myself and do a little reading. And then probably as soon as my coffee is done, I will head back up and start my writing day. This is Buckeye Hot Spring. You can see the steam rolling off of it already this morning. Highly recommend if you're ever in the Eastern Sierra part of California. The water feels absolutely perfect this morning and there's no one else here. It's Friday morning now, and yeah, I will update you guys again after I've started writing. You just saw me struggle a little bit to put up my awning. It's normally a little easier. Well, it's easier with two people, obviously, but it's not difficult to do with just one person. I was just struggling because this is a brand new tarp. Our old one is exactly the same size and everything, but we had been using it for over 5 years, and one of the grommets that we use all the time finally ripped off, and so we had to buy a new one. So it just took me a minute to figure out the strings and stuff to make it work. But yeah, it's all set up now. Yay, I have shade. Some of you are maybe wondering about like solo female van life type stuff. I thought about doing a video on this, but I really don't have that much to say. But just other advice that I follow when I'm doing this by myself for safety is, you can see I hung my swimsuit and towel up to dry. And so I just put like another towel and a pair of my husband's shorts up on the line so that it looks like I'm not here by myself. And then I also, in case someone would come around to the side of my van, which they shouldn't unless they're really snooping, but I have 2 pairs of shoes I'm sitting out, and I also set up 2 camp chairs even though I'm the only one here. That just helps to make it look like I'm not out here by myself. Obviously, if someone was actually like watching my camp, it would be pretty obvious that I'm by myself. But if someone was just to glance up here, it would look like there were 2 people here, which is the main thing. I never know if this is like paranoid or if it's prudent, but I know that it would make my parents feel better to know that I took these measures. So I do. As you can see, I have a really nice campsite. It's kind of washed out with the selfie view camera. There they are. That's what it actually looks like. Very, very beautiful. So now that I've got my camp all set up and I had a nice soak this morning, it's definitely time to get writing. So let's get at it. I did not update you guys at all yesterday, and that's because I didn't do any writing yesterday. Oh Lord, this is not going well. Okay, but here's the deal. It's April 21st, which means I have 10 days left in Camp Nano. And even though that isn't like my husband will be back before the end of the month, that still means I have 10 days to hit my goal. At the beginning of this vlog, I postulated that if I wrote 5,000 words a day, I could still write 50,000 words, right? 5,000 times 10. Yes. So I'm gonna see if I can finally make that happen and get 5,000 words in a day. Today's the day. I'm feeling it. I've got my coffee. The sun is shining. It's still pretty cold outside, but it's gonna be like 74 later. So when I sleep in the van, usually I like turn the heat off before I go to bed because I'm like, I'm gonna be snuggled up in the covers anyway, and then I just turn the heat on again first thing when I wake up in the morning. And I have not realized like how much my husband's body heat contributed to like how warm it stayed in the van and how warm I felt. And when I woke up this morning, it was 46 degrees in here inside my van, which is like really well insulated and everything, but it was just like in the 30s overnight because I'm up in the mountains. But yeah, like I said, it's gonna be super nice today. I can't wait until it's warm enough for me to like open the door and enjoy. But I've got my coffee. I am feeling energized about my story today, and yeah, I'm just ready to get going. So let's see if we can finally make it happen. It is now 3:30 and I have accomplished 6,658 words today. So I'm feeling really solid. That is not all new words written. Some of that is words edited and stuff, but I'm kind of counting it all together. So I'm not sure how many like new words I wrote, but it felt like a lot. I did a writing sprint with Alyssa in the books earlier. It was her first live session, so that was really fun. Yeah, I've just felt really motivated. I went on a nice little walk/hike with my cat earlier, speak of the devil. And yeah, I've just been really enjoying the day. It's like 74 degrees. It feels really good outside. And I think I forgot to mention my whole goal for the month for Camp Nano was that for every 10,000 words that I accomplished this month, I was going to allow myself to purchase one book at Powell's City of Books. So if you don't know, Powell's City of Books is the largest independent bookstore in the United States, and it's in Portland, Oregon. And we're going to be in Portland sometime in May, I think. So I've been really looking forward to that. And so if I can do 50,000 words, then I can potentially buy 5 new books, which will be really sweet. But my word count today put me up to 16,490 words for the month. So it wasn't like I was not writing at all prior to this vlog. It's just that I was writing very little. So I'm feeling really solid for today. I still might do some more, but I got to the end of a chapter, which felt really good as a stopping point for now. And now I think I'm just gonna like maybe watch some AuthorTube while I do some dishes, and then reevaluate whether I want to do some more writing or go soak in the hot springs, or what my plan is after that. I don't know. But first, dishes. Oh, here's my official word count document. It's kind of a mess. You can see like my chapters. I have pretty long chapters, I think, compared to most people. And then this has been like my number of words I've written each day. And so my sum total for the month is right there. And yeah, for today, we're at that number. So yay, progress. We're getting there. Good morning. It is Monday. It is Monday, April 22nd. So happy Earth Day. I didn't do any more writing last night, but I woke up this morning and saw the email that today starts Fantasy Writers Week for Pro Writing Aid. So if you're not familiar, Pro Writing Aid is like a writing editing software that's really fantastic. So I use that when I do editing. I'm not really editing right now, so I haven't used it in a while, but I've been a subscriber of that software for a couple of years now and really like it. And they put on basically like virtual writing conferences a few times a year, like a Fantasy Writers Week, a Romance Writers Week, a Sci-Fi Writers Week, that type of stuff. And it's free, I think, whether or not you're a customer of theirs. And so today kicks off the first day of Fantasy Writers Week. So there's like every other hour, I think there is some sort of like virtual little writing workshop conference type thing, which is cool. And the even better part is they are recorded and you can access them later, because I forgot that they are on Eastern time, and so I missed the first one accidentally already. So rather than try and keep up with that for the moment, I'm just gonna go ahead and get started writing, because if I don't start the day off writing, then I just like spiral into not being productive for the rest of the day. So that's the plan. Okay, I just have to check in because my writing's going well, but also I decided that this week I'm trying to teach myself how to French braid. And I know this is something most girls learn how to do when they're like 10 probably, but I've never known how to do it. I just know standard braid. And so I've been practicing like the last 3 days, and today is the first time that you can actually see it looks a little bit like a braid. Hopefully you could see that when I scanned the camera over. I'm still getting like, it's very loose, like it's obviously all about to fall out, and I definitely like lost track of it once it got down on my neck. So it's very messy. I'm sure I'll take it down in just a few minutes or it'll fall down on its own. But good not first attempt, but I can see that I'm making progress, so proud of myself. I might check in later this week, hopefully with a much better looking French braid. I've just hit my 5,000 word count for the day. I'm feeling pretty solid, which that got me to the end of chapter 4. And the first 5 chapters are Act 1. I'd really like to get to the end of Act 1 today if I can, since I don't really have any other plans today except potentially like going to soak in the hot springs again this evening. So I think I'm just gonna eat some lunch and get back into it. And I mean, maybe this is crazy to say, but maybe I'll have like a 10,000 word day. Again, I'm not really like first drafting at this part. I have written up to the midpoint. If I can get to the end of Act 1 today, I'll be really, really stoked. So I did finish Act 1. I got really lucky, I think, with that. It's probably been 2 hours since the last time I checked in with you, and I like ate lunch and watched some YouTube videos and stuff before I dove back in. And it's only 3:20 now, and I'm done with Act 1. So feeling super solid on that. Really, like, chapter 5 had very little that I needed to edit, so I was mostly just like going through and making like little tweaks, but I didn't really have to do any rewriting, which was great because the first 4 chapters had a lot of rewriting. But now that we're there, I'm hoping that the next several chapters in like the first part of Act 2, in my like most completed draft, I have 21 chapters written, and Act 2 is basically 10 chapters, whereas Act 1 is only 5 chapters. The way I'm kind of breaking down my book in my head is that there's like Act 1, which is just like the status quo kind of normal world situation. Then Act 2, my character goes into the new world, and basically everything from there to the midpoint is about 10 chapters from what I had written last time. And I think the first 5 of those chapters will require a lot less rewriting than the 5 chapters after that up to the midpoint. We'll see. We'll see. If I'm not done for the day, I'm definitely done for now. I'm going to take a break and do some other things with my day. Today and yesterday total now I have written or edited or rewritten or what have you, 17,180 words. So I'm still about 3,000 words behind what I would prefer to be at right now. If I had worked on 5,000 words a day from the day my husband left, because there was like the first 2 days that he was gone that I wrote nothing. So I am behind, but I am feeling good about how much I've caught up in the last 2 days. And I definitely think, like I said, I think the next 5 chapters should go pretty quickly. So if I can do another like couple, maybe like 2 more 10,000 word days, and then back down to 5,000 word days, I feel like I could be really, really on top of it for this week. Optimism. I realize I've been updating you guys about how my like process is going, but not actually about what I'm writing. So I thought I would just talk about that for a minute. Like I said, I have just finished Act 1. And I'm feeling really good about Act 1 right now. It's definitely like, it hasn't been edited or whatever, but I have basically written Act 1 like 3 or 3.5 times now. And I finally feel like it's solid. It's kind of where I want it to be, because before I felt like the world itself was good and solid because I am actually basing it on like a historical time and place, but like my character's life wasn't, if that makes sense. Like I had her, like at first I had her with a cousin, and then I changed the cousin to a sister, and in this iteration I've now decided that the cousin slash sister character for my previous drafts is just going to be her best friend. And I think that actually works a lot better. And then I added in another kind of minor friend, as well as like some neighbor characters. And so even though you won't really see these characters again after Act 1, I feel like her life feels a bit more real and fleshed out than it did in my previous drafts, where it was just kind of like her life was a little bit of a blank slate, even though you knew like what she did for a living and like the challenges that she was facing in her everyday life. You really didn't get a sense of like her social life at all, or who she was in relation to other people. And even though she is like a little bit of an introvert, I didn't want her to be completely like a social outcast, because that's not who she is. And so having her with some like strong friendships and relationships with her neighbors and stuff just made Act 1 feel a lot more solid and a lot more like my main character is a real person. So yeah, so I'm feeling good about that. Going into Act 2 is going to be a lot more about just like carrying some of those threads through, and like how isolated she feels now that she isn't surrounded by her community. So we'll see how that goes. Day. I had a thought last night about how my secondary character, or like my second main character, or the love interest, whatever you want to call him, I had a thought about the scene where he is introduced, and I realized if I just change the location of where he is the first time we meet him in the story, that I can add in some like world building elements and also give a little bit of a broader insight into his life. Currently, in the first scene where he's introduced, he's just like at his house. And I think if I put him in a different location, that can serve multiple purposes. So I'm going to go back and change that. That hopefully shouldn't take too long. And then I'll be moving into chapter 6. That took a little longer than I expected because I changed the location from his house to a church. And this is a historical fantasy, so then I had to look up what churches looked like in the early Byzantine Empire. Historical fantasy is hard, y'all. Research takes a lot of time. But anyway, finally finished that. So I basically like took out some of the stuff that was written in that first chapter where he's introduced, which is chapter 2, and then added that chunk, which was a couple of paragraphs, to a later chapter because I didn't want to lose the things he was thinking about then, but it didn't make sense for them to be in that first chapter, and then just change that. So I actually lost like 42 words in the chapter where he's introduced, but I think the overall context and the world building is a better introduction for him, and then added those words into a later chapter. My overall word count for the day is now 285. And I'm finally going to move into Act 2. Let's go. Just finished chapter 6, the first chapter of Act 2, and so I have over 5,000 words for the day, written, edited, whatever, mostly editing on this one. It was a pretty easy pass through the chapter, just minor changes here and there. Lately, the weather's been following a pattern of getting really windy in the afternoons, and it's only like 11:30 right now, so even though I want to keep writing, I think what I'm going to do instead is go ahead and like do my makeup and film a video, which will go up before this one. And that way, yeah, I can work on that after. Once I have it filmed, I can edit it like at my own pace, but I need to do the filming while the weather is still good. So, and it's supposed to be rainy the next couple days. So now's the time. Yeah, and I will hopefully do some more writing after I get done.
That there were two paths. You can decide to do X rather than Y.
Good morning. It's Wednesday, April 24th. I think I mentioned earlier this week that there is a Pro Writing Aid Fantasy Writers workshop happening this week. And I haven't really been keeping up with a lot of the sessions because just some of them I don't think really applied to me. But I just attended one that was really good. It was called like the four crossroads of story or something like that, and it was talking about how your whole plot needs to be based on like 4 key decisions that your protagonist makes, and how those kind of are the major transition points or crossroads of your story. and how, you know, basing your plot around your protagonist's decisions creates meaning and like gives the readers something, a reason to care, which is like all stuff I knew before, but it was just, he explained it in a really interesting and straightforward way. And then he had some like additional resources that you could download, like 50 questions to ask your protagonist and stuff. And so I've been kind of working through that this morning, which I realize in some ways is just procrastinating from the actual writing that I should be doing, but in other ways it has been like really helpful for me to like think more deeply about my character and who she is and why these decisions matter to her and like her core beliefs and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think I'm going to put that aside for now. I've answered about 20 questions on like the 50 question questionnaire, but yeah, it's time for me to actually get some writing done. I did start some writing editing this morning, but I haven't gotten through a whole chapter yet. So I'm going to see if I can get through at least 2 chapters today, because I only did 1 chapter yesterday, which was still over 5,000 words. But these chapters are more of like light edits. Getting through 5,000 words really isn't a whole lot because it's not like I'm writing 5,000 words. So I really would like to get a lot more done today than I did yesterday. We'll see how it goes.
With the whole world at our feet, we could stay or we could leave. There is nothing in between. So baby, we should start living now, 'cause we only have this life. Wanna laugh and wanna cry. I don't wanna waste my time.
All right, I'm feeling pretty good about today. I edited about almost 13,000 words, which was 3 chapters. So I'm now up to chapter 10. I haven't done chapter 10 yet. And I also filled out the 50-word questionnaire that I mentioned this morning. And I'm feeling pretty good after that about my character arc, having thought a little bit more deeply about that. So I might have to go back and just like add in maybe a couple sentences here and there back in Act 1 again, just to make sure that that character arc is strengthened. But I don't really think that that'll be very much work at all. You can see some weather is moving in behind me, so I feel like this is the perfect time to go have a soak in the hot springs. I'm gonna go take my Kindle and just enjoy the afternoon. Good morning. It is about 11 o'clock on April 25th. I have already attended a pro writing aid session this morning about character archetypes, which was pretty good. And it got me like, again, because I was like working on the character profile from the other session for my main character. Yesterday, I started doing it for my love interest / secondary main character today. I decided to get on Midjourney, which is like an AI art creation thing, and I know there's a lot of mixed feelings about that in the world, and I'm not condoning the use of stolen artwork or imagery or the use of AI for anything that you would actually use professional services for, but I just thought it would help me to have like some images of what my characters look like. I'm not like a super visual author where I know a lot of people will create like mood boards and Pinterest boards and all this different kind of stuff to like help them be inspired or to help them write. I don't really do that kind of stuff. I think I mentioned in a previous writing video, I did have to make a map of a village where a lot of Act 2 takes place, because I realized as I added more and more locations they were going to in this village that I had no like context clues for like where within the village all of these things were. So I did make a map, but that's been really my only like visual cue so far. But I do have now some AI imagery for my villain and my main characters. So to make my like love interest person in the Midjourney, the prompt that I gave it was, I think I wrote like handsome Turkish man with a receding hairline and a strong beard. But yeah, so that's him. And I'm really happy with how he looks. And then I was staring at it for a long time and I was like, he looks a lot like my brother. Which I actually sent it to my brother and I told him the same thing and he got a big kick out of that. He was like, thank you. But anywho, so I just thought that was amusing. And again, I don't condone the use of AI art for anything that you would use professional art services for, like book cover design and things like that. I don't want to be taking jobs away from anyone, but this was just for my own like process and won't really be shared with anyone ever except for you guys right now. So anyway, I am in the middle of editing chapter 10, and this is the part of my rewrite where I felt like chapters 5 through 9, I was just making like minor adjustments based on things that I had changed in Act 1. And most of that was like adding in more like in-depth character arc things, as well as I changed the way the magic system worked. I added in some additional like minor characters just to fill out the world a little bit more, that kind of stuff. But then like chapters 5 through 9 were basically the same. Again, I was just making minor adjustments to make sure that that all like flowed from Act 1. And now that I'm in chapter 10, I think this is where a lot of my heavier rewrites are going to start for the rest of what I have written so far, because I changed the magic system so much and I have more like a better understanding of who my characters are. What flows from here is going to be quite different, because this was kind of the fun and games section where my main character is doing sort of like a magical training montage type of thing, and because of that, because the magic system is so different now and better, I think it's a lot better. But before, I had her doing some like combat training type stuff, and I really don't think that fits for her character or is necessary for the story. She is a sorceress and doesn't need to learn how to fight. Like, that's not in her skill set. She's more almost of like a scientist, herbalist. Like, she's good at figuring out things, and she's really like witty and smart and good at magic. Like, there's no reason that she also needs to be a good fighter, because she can just use her magic in those situations. Anyway. And then I'm also changing what my love interest was doing in this section, because the first time I wrote this, I really like didn't have a great idea of what he should be doing. He was kind of like spinning his wheels while my main character was doing important things. But now I have important things for him to be doing too. So all that being said, a lot happening that I need to change in the chapters to come. So we're getting into that part now, so it won't flow as easily from here on out, but that's okay. I'm excited about where it's going. Are really getting fashionable Sandra here in this video. Got my like cozy fleece and my turtleneck on underneath. I just wanted to say I finished chapter 10, which was about 6,500 words, so I've already hit my goal for the day, and it's about noon now. I'm gonna eat some lunch, and then I think I need to spend the rest of the day editing a video for this coming weekend. So that video is all about fantasy subgenres, a breakdown of like what subgenres are and why they matter. So that should be fun. Yeah, so I'm probably done writing for the day. Every day I've said like, oh, maybe I'll come back and write some more this evening, and I haven't really done that. So I'm not gonna even say it this time, but we'll see. April 26th. It is Friday at almost 10 o'clock. Yesterday, I updated you guys. I just finished chapter 10. I didn't end up coming back to writing yesterday. After that, I spent pretty much the rest of the day editing my YouTube video, which took way longer than I expected, but that's okay. So my plan for today, I'm going to sprint for about an hour, and then I have probably the last session I'm going to attend for Pro Writing Aid Fantasy Writers Week. The webinars, I haven't attended a ton of them, probably 4 or 5 total over the week, just the ones that were relevant to me because it's a free conference, so I feel no obligation, which is really great. I attended a romantasy webinar led by Jenna Marisi for Pro Writing Aid the other day, and that one was so fun. I don't know if you follow Jenna Marisi on YouTube, but she's has a high number of followers. She's an authortuber, and she's really snarky and fun, and it was just interesting to see her in live webinar format instead of her more polished videos that you usually see. And yeah, she seems like a really sweet person and she always has great advice, I think. So that was fun. I think today will probably be the last day of the vlog because I have a ton of footage so far and probably don't need to record anymore. Tomorrow is the last day of my kind of retreat because then my husband is coming back and I'm picking him up from the airport on Sunday. So I still have 2 more days of writing after this, but Sunday I'll pretty much be driving and doing errands and stuff most of the day. So tomorrow is probably my last official retreat day where I'm just have nothing that I need to be doing except writing, which is exciting. Moving into chapter 11, I looked at my previous chapter 11 that I had, and we're getting back into the heavy rewrite section. And so I'm really not sure if there's much. Yeah, pretty much from chapter 11 through chapter 15, which is, 20,000 words or so. I'm not sure there's much I'm going to be able to reuse because that, as I was saying previously, was a lot of the training montage type of fun and games where my main character was learning more about her magic powers and how to use them and stuff like that. And I changed a lot about how the magic system works. Also, I'm just changing, I'm adding in a lot more about my secondary main character, my love interest, and what he's doing during that time. So I think the fun and games for me, doing light little edits for congruency and stuff after Act 1 is over. And now we're getting into for real drafting again. So that's exciting and fun, but also intimidating. But I feel really good about how this writing retreat has gone for me. I think I put off writing for so long post NaNoWriMo. I did some writing here and there, but I really just felt because I needed to rewrite so much, I was just so intimidated by my own project and I got really disheartened. And I watched another authortubers video recently where she was the best way to overcome your fear of writing is just to sit down and force yourself to do it. And I've heard that over and over again from so many different writers of just even if you're not feeling creative and even if you feel you have writer's block, if you sit down and don't allow yourself to do anything else, the words come. I've definitely found that to be true. And so I feel another reason I feel today's a good day to end the vlog is just that I feel accomplished. I did what I wanted to do, which was that I got myself back into this project full force and I'm no longer intimidated by the task and I'm excited about it again. And I just have set a habit of writing every day again. So that's really great. I forgot to mention this yesterday at the end of the day, but I did hit 50,000 words for the month. Now, are they new words? Not necessarily. I wish I had kept track of that a little bit separately, but I didn't. But basically, yeah, everything that I have rewritten or edited up to now for the month of April for Camp Nano adds up to 51,565 words. That's really great. That was my initial goal for the month. I'd really like to get a lot further than that if I can. I still have, today's the 26th. So, there's still a few days left of April that I can make the most of. My most complete draft that I got through had 89,000 words. So I am over halfway through my draft. But like I said, I think the rest of what I have to go is going to be a bit more intense as far as redrafting or rewriting and a lot less just edits. So yeah, I need to stop talking and get to work. I think is the moral of the story. It is 10:02. My pro writing aid session starts at 11. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So I think this will give you a good idea of, like, I'm just first drafting this chapter right now, and I don't know how well you can see, but I have highlighted some things in yellow, and these are just things that I will, when I go through this chapter again at some point in the future, come back to add in more detail, because at this point the first thing I highlighted was that she was looking up at a stained glass window which depicted images of nature. And so I just highlighted depicted images of nature because I would like to come back and describe, I think, what those windows are actually depicting, and use that as like a little bit of a world building nugget in there at some point to help flesh out this world a little bit. But for now, I don't need to get bogged down in something like that, because I want to write a whole chapter and not spend an hour thinking about what that should be. But for now, it's not really important. Hi. I'm sitting in the hot spring near my campsite right now, and it started snowing. Oh, it's so beautiful. Wow. Did you notice the new outfit? It's the next day. Hello. It is Saturday, April 27th. So officially my last day of chill writing retreat, because tomorrow I have to drive quite a few hours, I think like 4 hours, to get into Sacramento and pick up my husband from the airport, because he'll be coming back from his business trip. So I'm very excited to to have him around again, obviously. But anyway, I only wrote, I think, close to 600 words yesterday, and I pretty immediately, like, starting a new chapter that I was like rewriting, I felt pretty stuck. And that's just because I didn't have a clear idea of like what's to happen in that chapter. Like, it was kind of a transitional moment of like, they're in the new world and they've met some new people, and they just had a big conversation about like what the hell is going on, right? And so now they're like understanding their situation, and they're like in a new village. And so this was just kind of, this chapter needed to be like a transition from like this conversation with kind of the mayor of this village to what needs to be happening in this like next couple of chapters, where they like start training and learning and understanding the town that they're in now and stuff like that. And so I didn't really know, I just started writing basically like the mayor giving them a tour of the town, and that isn't particularly exciting. Like, I think there's some really cool stuff that is in the town. Like their library is just like the library of everyone's dreams. And like the apothecary is something that my main character, who is a sorceress, is going to be very interested in. But I just don't know that that's interesting to the reader necessarily. So I need to find some conflict or some way to make their introduction to this new setting interesting. So, my water's boiling. My second cup of coffee for the day. I normally, 1 cup of coffee is fine. Normally not a 2 cup of coffee type of gal, but it's really cold. And I just want something warm to drink. And also, like, because we have a gas stove, heating the hot water actually does a pretty good job of like heating the whole space, because it's a van. There's not a whole lot of space. All right. Let me set you guys down so I can make coffee, and then we'll talk again in a sec. Coffee in hand. We're good now. Okay, so what I wanted to finish saying is, because I got kind of stuck pretty early on, I spent a lot of yesterday brainstorming. And unfortunately, I don't think I was brainstorming about the things that I should have been brainstorming about. But in general, I came up with a lot of really good ideas, including a stronger opening scene for my novel in general. So yeah, I know we're like going backwards again, and that's super not ideal. I don't want to like keep going back and like tweaking Act 1. I want to move forward and finish the freaking draft. But I do think that this was a really good idea, and I just wanted to get it down on paper while it was fresh. So that's what I did this morning. I went back and I added in a new opening scene, which was like 975 words. And I do think that that is a better introduction to my character and a more interesting opening to the story in general. So feeling good about that. Now I just need to finish going through chapter 1 and making sure I didn't like repeat anything in my previous opening scene that's in the now opening scene, and just make sure that that's all congruent. And then we'll go back to being a little bit stuck on chapter 11, and that's okay. I don't feel like so stuck that I have writer's block. Obviously, I'm like flowing with ideas right now, which I think is what I was trying to talk about a little bit yesterday when I was saying that I feel like this vlog has been a success because I am feeling very creative. The water can't flow unless the faucet is on, right? And so like this week has been about turning the faucet back on, and now the ideas are flowing again, and I'm feeling really good about it. So that's where we are. Today is definitely 100% the last day of the vlog, so I will probably have like one more wrap up closing thoughts, but for now I'm gonna get back to work. This new wardrobe is not because it's a new day. I'm just like excited to have some sunshine. Hey baby. Anywho, I spent pretty much the whole day so far on chapter 1, which like why? Why am I doing this? But I am actually like really excited about my chapter 1 now. I have made a lot of little tweaks. I wrote like 1,000 new words. I also removed some words. My chapter 1 is way too long, and I haven't figured out how to fix that because I feel like all of the details that I included are like good setup, and I don't feel like I'm info dumping or anything, but I guess I will leave that to potentially some beta readers to tell me at a later date. But once I had it all in Scrivener and I was like happy with it, then I copied it into Google Docs and like tried to make it like size 12 times New Roman, double spaced or whatever, and then I actually read it all out loud to myself because I've heard a lot of different writers say that that is helpful for them, and it just makes sure that like the pacing and the flow works, and it kind of, when you say it out loud, it really highlights if you have anything that's worded in a really clunky way. And so I changed not a ton of things, but like a few things here and there that I think just needed to change. And yeah, reading it out loud really made it feel like a real story in a way that it hasn't before. And so I'm just like feeling really stoked, even though I definitely shouldn't have spent all day on chapter 1 because it's like close to 3 o'clock now. And I have been at it since I woke up this morning. But anyway, it's a writing retreat. Like, what else are we supposed to be doing? Nothing. This is what we're doing. So I still need to do a lot of brainstorming for chapter 11, but I just wanted to go ahead and wrap this vlog up. Like I said, I'm feeling really solid and just excited to be like in this creative place again and writing. I really do feel like this book is meaningful to me. You know, it's just a silly fantasy story, but like I think it's gonna be really rad in the end, and I can't wait to see that come to fruition. So thanks for tagging along with me on this probably what is a way too long vlog. But if you made it all the way to the end, please comment with like a magic sparkles emoji for fantasy or something. And anyway, hope your all's writing projects are doing well. If you are a writer, let me know what you're working on down in the comments below. And if not, I'll see you again soon with my reading updates. So be kind, read books, stay creative. I'll see you next time.